I don't think it's unreasonable to expect landlords, to demand that landlords provide degrees of certainty to their tenants. I really don't. And if the price that we have to pay for that is some landlords suffering a bit, that is a price that I can weigh up on one side of the scales against every tenant in the country living with the kind of precariousness that I've just described. And I can conclude with enormous ease that, unfortunate though it is that some landlords may suffer from these sort of legislations, tough, because the alternative is to put everybody who is renting in a position of utterly unfair precariousness. And this is a point so obvious that even Michael Gove could see it. Michael Gove, that put his name to these plans to reform rent, and who earlier this week, as Oliver Dowden didn't seem to understand in the House of Commons yesterday, but as Angela Rayner repeatedly pointed out, they've essentially abandoned the protection of tenants, the protection of renters from no-fault evictions. And the Tory party is such a hot mess at the moment that they actually have people they have people complaining about the legislation when it was being assembled from both sides of the argument. One Conservative MP called the bill a betrayal because it didn't bring in a ban on no-fault evictions. It agreed to a delay on any ban on no-fault evictions or a requirement for a minimum 6-month tenancy. So if you move in January, you can't get chucked out in March if you've kept up your side of the bargain. But other Tory MPs, this is from the same party, who are landlords and who get to legislate on what laws... I mean, that's a bit uncomfortable as well, isn't it? What's that? You say, how many properties does Jeremy Hunt own? He owns half of Surrey. Not literally. It's a figure of speech. But he owns so many properties, he forgot he owned 12. Do you remember that? What is the point of having a society if society does not enact legislation to protect the people living in that home from the potential greed of the person that owns it? Or from the whimsy of the person that owns it? Or from the cruelty of the person that owns it? It's not outlawing landlording, although there might well be a case for that. It is simply saying that you cannot chuck those people out because you've suddenly lost a bit of money on the horses, or you can't afford to be a landlord, I would argue, if you can't afford to provide a fixed 6-month tenancy. If your financial arrangements are so delicate that 2 months of receiving no rent will mean that you can't afford to keep the mortgage payments up on the house, then you've got no business being a landlord.